Thanks, Sonali. Now, we're starting today with a heartbreaking appeal from a mother who's lost her only son.
Adam Jones was just 15 years old.
Adam was just a normal, everyday teenager growing up, and he'd got everything going for him. He was into the horses a lot. He'd secured himself an apprenticeship at the Sandwell Valley Riding School. He was due to start a college course in September to do something he really loved. And he had to do it.
On the 26th of March, Adam was out with his mates. He'd promised to pick up a few things from the shop for his mum on the way home.
I asked him to just bring me a bottle of pop back at some point, and he brought it back in the evening, be about 7 o'clock. Give it to his sister on the doorstep, and off he went on his bike.
Adam and his friends were walking past this petrol station on Walsall Road. At the same time, a Volkswagen Bora was driving in their direction. It was caught on CCTV less than a mile away, heading north on the A4031. Adam said goodbye to his friends before heading off on his bike.
We just had a knock on the door from his friend saying that Adam had been knocked off his push bike. So I went straight there. I thought Adam would just be sitting on the grass bank, telling me he was hurt his leg or he was hurting somewhere. And when I got there and I was looking, I could just see flashing lights, and I thought, well, where is Adam? And I looked and I couldn't see him on the grass verge. Then I saw his push bike and the ambulance. And then I realised something was serious. He hadn't just been knocked off his bike. Then I saw the state of the car.
Adam had not survived the force of the collision.
He was my only boy. He was my only son. The driver was a coward. A coward for running away instead of calling for help. Because he ran away and left him to die.
The police investigation has so far failed to identify who was driving the car.
We've traced the registered keeper of the vehicle, and we know that the registered keeper wasn't the driver at the time of the collision. It appears to be a practice amongst people within the local community to either buy and sell vehicles locally or swap vehicles locally on a very regular basis, which is why sometimes DVLA records may not be kept up to date, but obviously we're convinced that somebody within the local community knows who the driver was at the time of the collision.
Since the 26th of March, my life's just been turned upside down. I've got another 2 daughters who are just in pieces, to be perfectly honest. It feels like my own life's stopped because of not having Adam.
Inspector Paul Bennett is with me. Such a tragic case. What do you know about the driver of the Bora?
We know that the driver was a white male, aged in his 20s. We've got various descriptions of his clothing and his hair, but he was between about 5'8" and 6 foot tall. What we also do know, he was the sole occupant of the vehicle at the time of the collision, and he would have been covered in shards of glass from the shattered windscreen.
For you, this isn't a simple case of just finding the owner of the vehicle, is it?
No, it's not. I mean, it's a close-knit community, and obviously people are buying, selling and swapping cars on a regular basis, so the DVLA records are not always up to date.
What do you know about the car itself?
Yeah, the car was a blue Volkswagen Bora, and the registration number is MA52XVV. It had really distinctive and quite offensive stickers on the rear of the vehicle, which would make it stand out. We've got a lot of history on the vehicle, but what we're appealing for today is obviously somebody that can tell us who was driving the vehicle at the time of the collision, and the collision was on Thursday the 26th of March at around 7:40 p.m. It happened on the A4031 Walsall Road, which runs between West Bromwich and Walsall, and that's between the Charlemont Farm and the Fry Park estates.
And you mentioned that this is such a close-knit community that lives here. How has Adam's death affected everyone?
It's devastated the whole community. I mean, in particular, Mandy and Mark, Adam's parents, have been really helpful in trying to put out community issues and appeals. We've had over 1 million hits on Facebook. We know that somebody knows who that driver is at the time of the collision, and I'd urge them to do the right thing and tell us who the driver of the car was at that time of the collision.
Paul, thank you very much. You heard him. If you know who was driving that car, please, please get in touch.